Hump Day! We welcome you guys into a brand new episode of Time2Football on this wonderful Wednesday of Week 4 of the 2021 NFL season. My name is Hassan Khan, the host of this channel that we like to call, you guessed it, Time2Football. Glad you guys are making the time to tune in for your Wednesday morning, whether you guys are getting ready for work, just woke up, whatever it may be. We appreciate you joining us, and we can talk about football here today. This episode of Time2Football will actually be cut a little bit short just because I've been feeling a little bit under the weather. I don't know if my voice sounds different at all, but I have not been feeling the best. I mentioned yesterday that I woke up with a little bit of a tickle in my throat, and I was like, hey, man, maybe I have COVID, and I'm going to get tested later today. I don't think it's COVID, just because I've had COVID before and the symptoms were just completely different. But, you know, nowadays they're like, hey, you got to get tested for COVID for everything, because any symptom in this world could be COVID, anything. They just piled on the symptoms as the months passed by in 2020. It felt like, oh, diarrhea? Yeah, you got COVID. Oh, you have a third nipple growing? That's COVID. Oh, your elbow is actually very, very ashy. No. You don't need lotion. That's COVID. Just different symptoms of COVID. Everything is COVID nowadays. COVID, you know, back in the day, they used to say like cancer, like everything would give you cancer. Well, COVID is now the new cancer. Hey, you have athlete's foot? No, that's not athlete's foot. That's COVID. That's COVID, bro. You got to get tested. Anyways, needless to say, I am going to cut this short whenever I get the chance to, and it'll be a shorter episode of Time2Football, and I'll get tested for COVID, but I don't think I have it. I just think something with the weather changing and, you know, it might be allergies or something like that. But needless to say, we appreciate that you guys are joining us for this episode of Time2Football. We're going to be talking about our power rankings here on this episode. We're also going to be talking about NFL news and notes that's going around the league, updating you on everything that you need to know ahead of the Thursday night game between the Bengals and the Jaguars. And then we're also going to take some time out of the day, a segment towards the end, to really talk about viewer questions that you guys are leaving in the chat right now as you guys are joining us. So actually, let's see if we have anyone in the chat currently. Only one person. That's okay. Hey, Wednesday, there's not really much to talk about. We've got Socks, Rocks, and Socks, Rocks, Sand, Docs. Hi, thanks. Yeah, you're welcome, dude. You're welcome. But before we get into the topics for today's show, what we do on this channel every Wednesday is we look back at week 3 or the previous week, and we name a player, and we give a player the most prestigious award on this channel, the Hungriest Player of the Week. Hungriest Player of the Week, the one that wanted it the most. I say this every week. This isn't about the guy that had the best stats. This isn't about the person that threw for 3 touchdowns. This isn't the quarterback award, because I feel like quarterbacks get all the recognition right now. No, this is about the player that wanted it the most. The player that played their heart out and showed to the world, yes, my position that I play at is actually very, very important. And I can't think of any other person that I want to give the Hungriest Player of the Week award to, except Justin Tucker. Ladies and gentlemen, the 66-yard game-winning field goal not only won the game for the Baltimore Ravens against the Detroit Lions, but it was an NFL record. In just such dramatic fashion on top of that as well. This record, I don't think, will be broken ever. I think this record will be held by Justin Tucker for years and years to come. I hope it is, because the way that that kick hit the crossbar, just kind of fell in. I mean, when you look back at history in 20 years, you look back, it's like, oh, what's the record for the longest field goal in NFL history? And you watch that clip. That's the clip that I want to watch for the rest of my life as the record. Now, if we had a 69 nice yard field goal, I mean, I think that'd be pretty awesome too. But 66 yarder, crazy to think that Justin Tucker has the NFL record for that. One of the best kickers in NFL history. So Justin Tucker is your week 3 hungriest player of the week. Now we want to get into NFL news and notes that's going around the league as of today. Try to keep you guys updated with everything going on. What have we got here? Richard Sherman, that's probably the biggest news, is that Richard Sherman officially signs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's been talks about him potentially signing with them for the last week or so, and then he finally had an official visit yesterday. Now Richard Sherman is going to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Probably won't be playing for this game, maybe the game after, but he's going to get into the swing of things, get familiar with that defense, and then he'll be good to go. T. Higgins. So this is some injury news for the Thursday Night Football game. T. Higgins, his shoulder injury, he was doubtful to play for the Bengals this past week against the Steelers. He did not practice this past Tuesday. So already we talked about if you're doubtful going into a game, more than likely you're not going to be playing that week, but the next week you are. Now, if they had a Sunday game, more than likely T. Higgins would be playing. But since it was a short week and it was a Thursday, more than likely T. Higgins off the table. You could expect Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd to lead the way. So I don't know if you kept up in the offseason with the Chicago Bears and their whole stadium news. They wanted pretty much a new stadium. I know Soldier Field is historic and they can only do so many renovations to it, but I think a lot of financial struggles are going on with the Chicago Bears and deals and everything to stay at Soldier Field. So within the next 10 years, they're hoping to move into a place called Arlington Park, which is in Illinois, just a suburb of Chicago. And so they went ahead and purchased that deal. So within the next 10 years, the Chicago Bears will be moving to a new stadium, building a new stadium, Arlington Park. I think it used to be a racetrack, not the gas station, but the actual stadium, like where you race cars. So they got rid of that. They're going to build a new stadium, and Chicago Bears have already signed a deal on that. Staying in the NFC North, the Detroit Lions cut Jamie Collins because they wanted to trade him. He was on a trade market for the last week. No interest. No interest in the veteran. So Jamie Collins has been cut. I think he's going to pass waivers. I don't think anybody's really going to pick him up on waivers. So he'll pass waivers, and then he's free game at that point with any team. Joe Judge, head coach of the New York Giants, has stated that he wants Kadarius Toney more involved. Yes, don't we all? Don't we all? I mean, you said this in week 1 when Kenny Golladay missed that game, that Kadarius Toney was going to get a lot more work in week 1. That's what Joe just said. And then Toney, what did he get? Only 1 touch? And I think it was a rushing attempt. And he wants to get Kadarius Toney more involved. Their first-round talent, their first-round pick. I don't know. It's just not working out right now. Just not working out. And then the last little bit of NFL news that I wanted to give you. Marlon Mack and the Indianapolis Colts have agreed to seek a trade for Marlon Mack. So the trade deadline is November 2nd. Marlon Mack is going to be a name that gets brought up prior to that trade deadline, along with Deshaun Watson and other big-name superstars as well. So Marlon Mack, I actually wanted him to sign with the Atlanta Falcons because that anything would have been better than Mike Davis. Really. I am dead serious. I love Mike Davis, but I don't understand why we signed him as an RB1. But that is your NFL news and notes for today. You guys are continuing to leave your comments. I'm going to go ahead and read off a couple of them right now. Docs. Okay, Docs. Just want to make sure I pronounce that right. What's up, Familia? Earthly Links. How you doing, my man? What else have we got? You guys are asking your fantasy football questions, and I'm going to dedicate a whole segment to asking or answering your fantasy football questions later on in this show. Right now, what I want to show you is our power rankings going into week 4 of the 2021 NFL season. These kind of jump up and down a lot. And I mentioned that in the first 2-3 weeks, you're going to see big jumps. that's happening with teams because we're still getting familiar with which team is actually legit and which team had a fluke win, fluke loss. But I think we're now getting to the point where, okay, we know which teams are actually good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 25 through 32. Stop, talk about it. 17 through 24. Stop, talk about it. So I'm just going to show you 8 at a time, and then we're going to transition over to 1 through 8. So first off, 25 through 32. Who are the 25 through 32 teams on our power rankings? Well, if we take a look at this, we've got the Chicago Bears at 25, the Philadelphia Eagles at 26, the Atlanta Falcons at 27, the New York Giants at 28, the Houston Texans at 29, Lions at 30, Jets at 31, and Jaguars at 32. Okay, so 28 to 32, not really much to talk about. I mean, all those teams suffered a loss, so they kind of stay in their same spot right there. The Falcons, okay, so I know that they lost. I know, but the Bengals had a big victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So just because the Bengals had to move up so many spots, who we had ranked lower than the Atlanta Falcons previously, we'll get to the Bengals when we talk about 17 through 24. But yeah, we had to drop the Falcons a spot. The Eagles did not look good against the Cowboys, and then the Chicago Bears have a lot of problems that they need to figure out on their offense. All right, now let's take a look at 17 through 24, the power rankings. We've got 17, the Panthers, 18, Patriots, 19, Broncos, 20, Vikings, 21, Bengals, 22, Dolphins, 23, Washington, 24, Indianapolis Colts. I think it's a little bit of a crime. I don't know why I did this and putting the Panthers at 17. They should be ranked higher, in my humble opinion. I mean, I'm the one that creates the rankings, so I regret that. I would put them in the top 16 for sure. But, they started at number 25 originally. So, I mean, just jumping up 8 spots at this point, going 3-0. Panthers are on the way up. Same with the Broncos, are on the way up too. I know they're 3-0, but you got to look at the talent that they have faced so far. The New York Jets, the New York Giants. It's kind of hard to really get a feel of if they actually are for real or not for real. The Minnesota Vikings, big victory against the Seattle Seahawks. They jump up a few spots. The Cincinnati Bengals, big victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers, so they jump up a few spots as well. The Miami Dolphins continue to not impress us. Same with the Indianapolis Colts. They drop a few spots as well. That is 17 through 24 on our power rankings. Now let's take a look at 9 through 16. The teams that we have ranked in this window. 9, Tennessee Titans. 10, Seahawks. Saints at 11. Raiders round out our top 12. Cowboys 13. Chargers 14. Steelers 15. And 49ers at 16. Yeah, so if I had anything that I need to change on this, if I could go back and change anything, it would be the Panthers ranked ahead of the 49ers. But then the 49ers also, I mean, they kept it close against one of the best teams in the NFL in the Green Bay Packers. So I don't know. For now, it is what it is. And then maybe later on, it'll change. We've got, let's see, the Titans. They continue to jump a few spots in the power rankings. The Titans gave us a little bit of a scare in week 1 against the Arizona Cardinals. But we have to realize that the Cardinals are actually really, really good. And they have, since then, beaten the Seahawks. Had some impressive victories since then. The Saints continue to impress by some good coaching. The Raiders 3-0. And that is your power rankings for 9 through 16 for that window. Now, let's take a look at 1 through 8. Who are the top dogs? The top 8. We're going to read off from 8 going up to number 1. So, let's read off number 8. Arizona Cardinals, 7. Cleveland Browns, 6. Kansas City Chiefs, 5. Green Bay Packers, 4. Buffalo Bills, 3. Baltimore Ravens, 2. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and 1. The LA Rams, are the best team in the NFL. Topping the defending Super Bowl champions, Bucs drop a spot. Ravens stay at the top 3 after beating the Kansas City Chiefs and not losing since then. The Bills and the Packers continue to go up after their victories against the Washington football team and the 49ers. The Chiefs continue to drop 1 and 2. Hey, the best 1 and 2 team out there, for sure. Kansas City Chiefs, they're still in the top 6. But, it's not looking good for the Chiefs at this point. They lost what was supposed to be a much-needed victory against the Chargers. The Browns continue to press and they move up. And the Cardinals, man, do not sleep on the Cardinals. I think we actually had them ranked in that 17 through 24 slot once the season began, and now they're inside of the top 8. So they're gonna continue to move up. So that's our power rankings. I mean, we've got the Rams. It just makes sense that the Rams are the best team in the NFL right now. If you agree, disagree, please leave your comments down below. Let us know your thoughts, and we would love to interact with you and get your opinion on all of that. Now let's get into viewer questions. Spend a few minutes just talking about some questions that you guys have and have been leaving in the chats. So I'm going to go ahead and see what you guys are. Okay, Zolbu. Wow, you asked the same question earlier, and now you put the siren alarm saying, hey, I need your attention. Please answer my question. All right, since you're joining us, I'll go ahead and answer it. Chase Edmonds or Kareem Hunt for flex PPR? I'm going to go with Chase Edmonds on this one. Chase Edmonds provides a bit of stability for your fantasy football team. I mean, in half PPR leagues, he hasn't scored less than double-digit points this season. Now it's been like 11 points, 10 points, which isn't like the most amount of points, but in your flex spot, I mean, if you wanted consistency, that's pretty solid. Kareem Hunt, on the other hand, it could go to Nick Chubb, it could go to Kareem Hunt. So I'm going to go with Chase Edmonds on this one over Kareem Hunt. What else do we've got? Tim Patrick or Rondale Moore? This is by Theodore Lee. Ooh, Tim Patrick is very, very underrated. And I actually, I don't know why. If I had room on my roster, I would add Tim Patrick because people are sleeping on him. I just don't have the room on my bench. But between him and Rondale Moore, last week Rondale Moore kind of worried me on this is supposed to be a breakout game with DeAndre Hopkins hurt, but then it leaned in the favor of Christian Kirk. So if you're looking for something a little bit more safer, even though they face the Baltimore Ravens, I would go Tim Patrick. But man, if you want boom or bust, Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore. And honestly, I'd probably lean towards Rondale Moore more than Tim Patrick. What else have we got? Let's go back to the beginning. Andres, you've tuned in a couple of times on this live stream. Hello, start 3 half PPR. Debo, Cooks, Sutton, Pittman. Flex the 4th over J-Rob? Thanks. Wait, hold on. Okay. Start 3 half PPR. Debo, Cooks, Sutton, Pittman. Okay, Debo, Cooks. And I know I have Sutton as a must-sit this week. Ah, man. It's between him and Michael Pittman. Flex the 4th over J-Rob. No, I wouldn't flex the 4th over J-Rob. I would put James Robinson in there for sure. I'm going to lean in towards Cortland Sutton. Even though he is a must-sit, I'd actually, prefer that over Michael Pittman for sure. What else do we've got? Danny Harvey, what do you think about Antonio Gibson? Man, I am in the same boat as everybody else that owns Antonio Gibson, to where I'm like, he's obviously the most talented player on that offense. Maybe Scary Terry is up there and has that spot, but as far as athletically gifted best player on that offense, it's Antonio Gibson. And I don't understand why he's not getting more touches. I get that J.D. McKissic is a very good player. Whatever helps you win the football game at the end of the day, that's what Ron Rivera is going to do. But I feel like this offseason, I drafted Antonio Gibson. I kind of reached for him just because the whole let's use him like Christian McCaffrey kind of thing, I believed it. I really did. And I still think that he's eventually going to get to that point because even though J.D. McKissic might be eating into Antonio Gibson's touches and carries, nah, man. I think eventually it's going to get to the point where Antonio Gibson is going to be the lead back. And we saw a little bit of that last week against the Buffalo Bills. J.D. McKissic did not have that much of an impact and didn't affect Antonio Gibson. It was just game script at that point. They were just down by so much. But this week against the Atlanta Falcons, you could expect the game to be a little bit closer. Washington, their football team, their defense, they have just been giving up way too many big leads, and that forces J.D. McKissic to come in, Antonio Gibson to come in as well. They have to pass the ball. They're not really running it that much. So to answer your question, man, what do you think about Antonio Gibson? I think he's a person that you got to hold. You got to hold, and you got to just hope for the best. And I think eventually towards the end of the season, I mean, He's going to win a lot of leagues, a lot of championships for a lot of fantasy football managers. So don't get too worried about Antonio Gibson at this point. What else do we've got? Would you drop Mooney and pick up Emmanuel Sanders from waivers? You know, Sanders has been performing better, but I still think they're in the same tier. You know, I'm going to say yeah. I'm going to say yeah, just because the offense in Buffalo is just much better. So if you need to drop Mooney and get Sanders, go ahead, do it. I mean, it won't hurt you too much. Earthly Links, definitely agree with the power rankings. I would have had the Panthers ahead of the Steelers because the Steelers looked really bad against the Bengals. Yeah, I agree. I really wanted to move the Panthers up, but I kind of bullied the Steelers and I dropped them 7 spots already. So I was like, that might be a little bit too much of a drop. I know that even the biggest dogs have their days where they just don't look that good. And the Steelers all season haven't been looking good. So I wanted to drop them more, but then I realized 7, I'm just going to cap it off at that just because they beat the Buffalo Bills earlier this season. Let's not forget that. So this isn't by like a week-by-week basis. It's just based off of who I think is the best team, based off of how they performed the previous week. So that's the explanation behind that. Pittman or Emmanuel Sanders is by various cold. I'm going to go with Emmanuel Sanders on this one. Sanders being utilized in that John Brown role of the Buffalo Bills. Love it. XXX. Ooh, that's a sexy name. Lex, is this for week 4 or rest of season? Are you referring to the power rankings? What are you referring to? Let us know, and then I can answer that question. Octavio, hi from Mexico. We got international people coming in. Flex Gibson or Mike Evans? You've got to flex Antonio Gibson at that point. Mike Evans is just so hit and miss. I know he's had a couple good weeks, one bad week. This, if I had to make a guess on this game between the Buccaneers and the Patriots, I'm going to guess that the Buccaneers are going to feed the ball to Antonio Brown, who's the former New England Patriot. They're going to feed the ball to Rob Gronkowski, the former New England Patriot. Mike Evans might get some receptions here and there, but I think he's going to be down in the pecking order. So I would start Antonio Gibson, who in this game I would not be surprised if he gets 20 or more carries on the ground against the Atlanta Falcons because it's going to be a much closer game than previous weeks. David Juarez, flex question. Start 1, Fuller, Beasley, or Renfro. Standard league. Fuller is I like Fuller, but I wouldn't put him in your lineup just yet. I'm going to have to go with Beasley. Beasley out of all of them. What do you get? Like 11 targets, 13 targets the last couple of weeks in each game? I like that a lot. So I would start Beasley for sure. Let's go ahead and take a couple more, and then I'm going to go ahead and end this. Jeremy Cosby, you just commented. Cop C. So yesterday, you mentioned the Bears as one of the defenses to stream this week, but what are some other options? I have New England and saw that both Bears and Lions defenses are available. I mean, I would go with the Bears in that instance. The Bears defense is not bad. It's not bad, but it's not the best either. Over the Lions defense, though, I think this is going to be a big game for David Montgomery in that run game, and I think the Bears offense is going to get a little bit more back on track. So if I had to choose between the Bears and the Lions to stream, then I would choose the Bears for sure. Over the Patriots, yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and answer one more. XXX Lex, time to drop Sterling Shepard, pick up Rondale Moore. Absolutely not. I would love to have Sterling Shepard over Rondale Moore any day of the week. Rondale Moore, still a rookie, still getting adjusted. A lot of mouths to feed in that Cardinals offense. Sterling Shepard, he's the number one guy for Daniel Jones. Now, the hamstring injury, if you're in a bad spot where, hey, you need a wide receiver desperately, then sure. Like, you have to do what you have to do. But if Sterling Shepard isn't going to be out for too long and I mean, if you're asking me as far as production for the rest of the season, it's Sterling Shepard over Rondale Moore. Over Rondale Moore for sure. Oh man, yeah. If you guys are just tuning in for the live show, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I feeling a little bit underneath the weather. I'm going to take that COVID test. I don't think it is COVID, but who knows? Anything could be COVID. You threw up? Oh, that's COVID. Your balls itch? Oh, that's COVID. Anything could be COVID nowadays. So we appreciate you guys joining us for this episode of Time to Football. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you guys can stay up to date when we come out with these live shows every single day. It is definitely worth it. You guys don't want to miss out on the opportunity to watch something great because we answer viewer questions every day, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you guys tune in for that. And be sure to continue to leave your comments and your questions on the videos. So Fantasy Football Starts at videos, waiver wire ads, whatever it is. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. And remember, COVID is the new cancer.